Welcome to Talk Around Riyadh, the Wheel of Time showcast. I am your host, Joe Perry, here with my co-hosts, Jen Isgro and Tom Kokoza. Jen, we're back. How are you?
I'm great, Joe. I'm so good. Once again, we have some very special things to listen to in this episode, and I am anxious to get it started.
Tom, are you anxious?
I wouldn't say I'm anxious, but I am very excited. We did 4 cast interviews that we played for you guys and talked about in our last episode, and we have 4 more in this episode to talk about. Very, very excited.
4 more interviews.
Hey, I'll do another for sure, but I think that I don't know. Let's put it this way. We did 8 cast interviews altogether, which I think is for the show a very portentous number. It looks like that's how many Forsaken there are,
That's
and
true.
that's how many cast interviews that we had. Is
Not
there a
all
connection?
Forsaken,
That's for you, the listener, to judge. But
yeah,
I think that tonight's episode is going to be a really good one.
Spoiler alert, everyone we interviewed winds up being a Forsaken. No, just kidding.
Huge, if true.
I think a lot of people would stop watching the show if that was true.
Yeah.
This might turn into a very different podcast as well. So we did get to talk to 4 more of the cast. Thank you to the 4 of them and to Amazon for sharing. Should we get right into it? Anything you want to preface this by?
Do we want to tell, like, I will say this, one cast interview, we were not as prepared to do it as some of the other ones. And then we're not going to tell you which one. Let's see if you can figure it out.
Oh yeah, one of these 4, they'll never figure it out.
One of the 4
No, they won't.
They won't
We're
figure it
that
out.
Oh, I like the confidence from
We're
my
that
co-hosts.
Good. All right, so let's get into our first interview with the lovely Madeleine Madden. Can I call her Maddie? They referred to her as Maddie, so I feel like we can call her Maddie. So let's hear what she has to say. So we're obviously really big fans of the book, so we're going to come at it, from a book perspective with that. So we might ask some different questions than like normal people will ask because we're not normal people. But so first off, I want to talk about episode 6 of season 2. It was definitely one of the most powerful episodes of television that we've seen in years, thanks in part to your performance, of course. So we wanted to know how you got into that kind of emotional headspace to deliver on those scenes.
Thank you so much for saying that. Look, it was incredibly difficult. We were very lucky to shoot chronologically. So, shooting from the first shot of me being dragged into the cell, and the last shot of the whole sequence was what you saw at the very end of me touching the picture. So that really helped my emotional journey. But also, towards the end of that episode, me feeling exhausted and crying and wanting to get out of that cell, that felt very real.
Wow.
I was very, very lucky to work with Zelia Mendez-Jones, who was just a brilliant counterpart and was fantastic at just bringing the light when, in between takes when we really needed that, but then also really staying with me in the scene and looking after me. So, for me, it was really important. This was for me, the most important part of Egwene's journey in her life, and is a real moment that changes her forever. So, I really looked to the books to help me with physicality. Robert Jordan's so brilliant at the detail in his writing. And there was so much that I found in the books of where Egwene manifests pain, where the Adam inflicts pain. And so with the work of my movement coach, Scarlett McKim, we really figured out different ways of feeling pain, showing pain, holding pain, and where pain stays in your body. So, it was a massive undertaking, but it was something that I feel really, really proud of.
Yeah, it was amazing. Blown away by it.
Thank you.
So kind of a follow-up to that. How do you feel about the way Egwene defeated Rhenna And how do you think that will shape Egwene in the coming seasons?
I think, Renna and Egwene's relationship is such a unique one because I think only with, say, Nynaeve and Elaine, this is the only other relationship with, a woman her age. So I thought that this dynamic was interesting. That someone so young could be so cruel. It feels very sinister. And I think that's what Egwene's sort of grappling with. But she's also taught by Renna just how special she is, which is something that she never found in the White Tower. And Renna has this very brutal, rapid, but effective way of bringing this power out of Egwene, which is really awful, but something that she needed to harness her energy in the way that she wanted to, with how, quickly she wanted to. She wasn't getting the results she wanted at the White Tower in the amount of time that she wanted. And in a really horrific way, she was taught that, she is strong, and she now has this inner strength of that she doesn't need to prove herself to anyone anymore. And when we find Egwene up, like in episode 7 and up on the tower, we see that there's this change in her. She's different. And there is a flicker of a moment where maybe she will move more towards the dark side. We don't know. But then, that fighter, that defiance, her moral compass comes through again. And, we see how ruthless she has become because she's been the one that's needed to get herself out of her circumstances. And so, I think we find a very different Egwene at the end of the season versus where we start with her at the beginning, someone who's reliant on other people, who looks to others for guidance. And then at the end, she is her own strength, and she's like, I can only rely on me and need to be strong for me, and now be the protector for those around me that I love.
Yeah, that was really great how they did the contrasting. Like in the beginning, Egwene's kind of feeling a little bit like taking a second to Nynaeve, and then Renna, like you said, is kind of giving her that attention and that she deserves. So it's very difficult then for Egwene because she's getting something she was looking for, but she's also getting something she wasn't looking for.
In a truly horrific way, right?
Yeah. And I think it was quite a surprise as well. A lot of people were like, "Oh, I didn't think you would actually kill Renna in the end." But it's one of those things where you feel so conflicted. And I'm sure, Egwene obviously hates Renna, but there is that sort of, is Egwene going to be remorseful? Is she going to let her live? Like, you in these final moments, you see Renna truly human and not just a Shan-chan, and not just like a Soldam, but then Egwene being absolutely ruthless, just lets her hang and kills her, so she's very much changed. Yeah.
Editorial, she deserved it. Anyway, we're gonna. All right. So you may have answered this question already, but we were curious. There's all the emotionally intense scenes. We talk a lot about that. There's also like a lot of action sequences and things like that in the season. So, what do you feel was the most difficult scene for you to film, and why?
Yeah. I think, all of the stuff in the cells was really difficult for me. I had like sort of, what would you call it? A book, a notebook of images and artworks that I drew inspiration from. So a lot of like Renaissance paintings, contemporary dance, different sorts of films that I felt encapsulated beautiful movement in the way bodies, manifest pain, torment, grief. And so trying to like keep your body in those really awful positions for a long time, for doing it over and over and over and over again for like 8 days, was really difficult. I think the hardest scene for me was probably the getting hung with the collar, because there were actually moments where I would feel like quite lightheaded, like I was actually getting choked.
Oh wow.
Just because of the collar, and when you're having to hold your breath, I think that was really difficult for me. But at the end of the day, I would have like a foot bath because my feet were just so cut up and I was losing toenails, and it was I was trying to emulate being like a caged, pained animal, and I felt like that a lot of the time. So
wow.
I think that was really difficult. Yeah.
Sorry for bringing it up.
No, not at all. Not at all. Enough time has passed where I can like talk about it now and not feel upset. But yeah, it was a pretty difficult time.
All right, this question's a little lighter and not as intense. So, so touches like Egwene pushing herself to channel without her hands, due to the events of the White Cloaks, in the first season, still affecting her. How much of that like distinct channeling type is something that you were part of developing? Because I know everyone else was working with the movement coaches, but you're trying to basically not move while you're channeling. So
yeah, no, thank you for picking that up. Like it was really wonderful to see people catching on to that, because obviously when you're kind of trying to do nothing, you're like, is it enough that people will see that I'm doing something? Or but again, that's when like Scarlett, our movement coach, was really instrumental in showing how you try and bring power out of you and the feeling of what channeling is like, something that's coming, moving through your veins and moving from, your chest outwards. I think also Rafe was very adamant from the beginning, like no channeling with the hands, no channeling with the hands. But I also love that that's something that, each channeler has their very distinct style of how they channel. And I love that Egwene is trying to, establish what hers is and also never let herself be in a position again where she can be vulnerable and is unable to, touch the source. So that is, I'm going to learn how to channel without the use of my hands. And that is something that we see at the beginning of the season, her try and harness. And then at the end, when she shoots that fireball off of the tower at the White Cloaks, that's just coming from outwards from her and she's not using her hands. So you see this journey that she's been on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brilliant, that part. I think we have our time is up. So I just want to thank you once again for, taking the time to meet with us. We're very excited. We're already waiting for season 3. But we'll watch season 2.
Thank you so much, guys. It was lovely chatting with you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
I mean, does she get Egwene or does she get Egwene?
She, talking about killing Rena, like it made me feel a little better about it after hearing her talk about it. Because it's like, I know we talk about this all the time, that the books and the show are different, and this is a different Egwene. It's not the same Egwene, and it's maybe in the book, if Nynaeve and Elaine didn't show up, maybe she would have killed Rena.
She was going to. Like, it was Nynaeve stopped her, right?
Nynaeve didn't show up, and
this is what happens when Nynaeve didn't show up. Yeah.
So now, but she was saying, now we're going to see what the repercussions from this are.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jen. I never thought about it like that, right? The reason she doesn't kill Rena is because, right, I think Nynaeve and Elaine stop her from doing it. So the fact that they weren't there, then it's like, well, she was going to kill her. So let's just make her kill her. You don't know
if she would have or not, but she probably might have. I don't know.
She pointed out, right, Maddie pointed out, right, that, the surprise of people that Egwene killed Rena. And I'm assuming she was aiming that at, like, the book readers when she said that, because... I
assumed she was aiming it at Jen.
Well, that's what I wanted. That's what I was asking about in like a roundabout way. And when she first answered the question, she didn't kind of touch on that exactly. And then like after like a quick follow-up is when she actually said it. I was like, oh, good. Like, well, you couldn't see me, but I was gesturing to myself when she said people are surprised, or like me. I was. But I feel like I feel better about some stuff after hearing the actors talk about it.
Yeah, I do too.
They're reconciling me to some of these changes a little bit better.
It's like therapy for us.
It is.
Another mention again for a movement coach, Scarlett. She's apparently really, really impacting what the actors are doing. They're all bringing her up. I mean, how intense was... I was not expecting to hear some of the stuff she said about those scenes.
Yeah, I know.
About, studying the different like pain positions and the movement coach working with her. And then her actually like getting her feet cut up because she's walking around barefoot in there trying to, I guess almost like method act through those through those scenes.
I think too, she's probably like scrabbling her feet on the wall when she was being hung, so that probably hurt her toes. And I also, like, when I first watched it, she is in like some very strange. She like contorts her body into some very strange positions.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
like this.
Adam is first like affecting her,
Yeah.
like her arm up and all this kind of weird
Yeah.
stuff. But I guess that's like really, really thought about. Like that's where pain like kind of manifests.
It's almost like when you see on like television when people are getting electrocuted. Like that's kind of like some of the
Yeah, like
you know
Yeah.
positioning. I feel like that's from. But that was very interesting. I was not expecting some of those answers, and it was really great to hear her.
I feel like every one of these that we've listened to between last episode and this so far, I'm like, this was my favorite one.
Yeah.
And I still feel like that. I feel like I'm gonna feel like that again for the next 3 times. I feel like I just feel very lucky. I think that the actors have given us really thoughtful, considered answers to our questions and like not cookie cutter them. And I was just impacted by that in listening to this. I think there was a lot of good stuff in here. A lot of good insight into like Jen said, like what the motivations were behind like why characters did what they did and how they felt and stuff. It was just really, I think Maddie is just a incredibly engaging personality. as a
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
So we're gonna listen to Tom's new favorite interview next.
Yeah.
I'll say that after
Just
every interview.
an 8th-place tie for first.
All right, so next up we've got Marcus Rutherford. So let's hear what Marcus had to say. Hello, Marcus. I'm Joe, and I'm here with Jen and Tom. We're from the Talker and Riyadh podcast. Very nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you too. How you doing?
Really good. Thanks so much for taking the time out to talk with us. We're big fans of the books and big fans of the show and big fans of you.
Oh, amazing.
In episode 1 of season 2, right, there's this really powerful moment where Perrin is about to send his wedding ring down the river on the lantern, but he takes it back the last moment. I think it's a great way to show the audience that, he's still dealing with this grief and guilt. How do you think the events of season 2 helped Perrin to come to terms with Layla's death?
Yeah, I think as he kind of goes through on that journey and you kind of see him thrust into like many kind of situations of violence and warfare, I think he kind of realizes that it's kind of surrounding him, and it's kind of, the things that he's kind of done and the way he's looked out for people. And I think, you kind of see at the end that how violent it is and that kind of animalistic kind of side that comes out of him again. I think it's something that he's really scared of, and I don't think that particularly has gone away towards the end of season 2. But I think he finally comes to terms that he really did love her, and that it was something that he really did care about. But that kind of the violence that is surrounding him and might be within him is just something that he still needs to come to terms with in terms of like his place within this prophecy. But I think in terms of like the actual event and stuff, I feel like he's finally getting a bit of catharsis, moving away from that.
Wow, great.
All right, love that answer. I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So on that note, right, Perrin makes a lot of new friends in season 2, right? He's with the Shanarans, he meets the Aiel, the Wolf brothers. So how do you think like these different and sometimes conflicting cultures and perspectives affect his growth throughout the season?
Yeah, I think that was really, really exciting about season 2. I think obviously Perrin, when he's in amongst a big group and they all might speak a little, have their shoulders out and speak a bit more confidently, he can kind of get get lost a little bit in those big kind of group scenes. So I think isolating him a bit and putting him in those scenes with completely different characters with completely different like philosophies in regards to life, in regards to humans, or even kind of fighting, I think he really starts to kind of question where he sits. And I think with like Elias, he's kind of like this thing that you're not going to be accepted by these kind of people. Like to kind of be as you are, you kind of have to live outside of that realm. And I think that's something that he kind of has to kind of question as well. He's obviously caused a lot of hurt and pain already, and that's something that he has to think about. And then with the Shanarans, there's this kind of like military kind of aspect, leaderish kind of thing that it's kind of like brewing, which I think is quite interesting, and how he kind of like rolls around with them that he has to think about. And then when he meets Aviendha, she kind of has this completely kind of different idea around fight. Like, she's just having fun when she's fighting with these people. And I think that is so far from anything he's kind of experienced yet. This idea that's almost like an art form, like a dance. I think it's beautiful. They kind of took in capoeira into how she kind of did some of that dancing, because it's completely different philosophy. And I think, I think it was really good for Perrin, because I think he starts to kind of question where he is, who he is, and they all kind of chip away at his armor a little bit in that season, which I think is really exciting.
Yeah, that's interesting. You pointed that out. I didn't even think about that. Like, he's with very militaristic and violent groups of people, so I guess it helps him understand that maybe it's not so bad to be violent sometimes.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so Perrin gets a lot of conflicting advice about what being a wolf brother means, including from some perhaps not so trustworthy sources. So what does he think of his abilities come the end of season 2?
Yeah, I think it's obviously been a very daunting prospect for him. There was a little kind of glimpse of it in season 1. Then obviously I think Elias was kind of that real kind of introduction to it. I think it's kind of that kind of thing that's within him that's kind of he might not be able to control. I think is obviously still incredibly scary, given everything that happened with Layla, or that kind of link to rage, or something that's kind of within him that he can't really kind of come to grasp with yet. But it kind of, there's lovely moments of connection, and there's lovely moments of like having a sense of community and having kind of like a camaraderie there you kind of see with, like, especially with Hopper and with Elias as well. So I think it's something that he's still it's quite daunting, because it's something completely new and quite scary for him. But that those elements of communication and having an ability that ultimately might help others and help friends, you kind of see in those first episodes, he's able to see and understand things that might help others get out of danger, or track someone down. I think that's something that he starts to embrace.
Yeah, that's great. Getting back to the Shanshan, right? They're a big part of season 2, right? They come in like a wrecking ball, disrupting storylines. Perrin and Loyal and the Shannarans have this amazing nighttime battle against them. It's one of the best probably moments in season 2. Can you talk a little bit about the process of being part of such like a large and intricate fight sequence?
Yeah, I mean, it's been amazing actually, and that the prep for that, like going forward in the season, has actually just it's laid the groundwork for a lot of stuff. But I think Thomas as well, who came in season 2, he kind of wanted that kind of that almost like that military coming at night when you're not prepared and like literally drag you out your bed, and I think I think that there's a real, I don't know, from everything, from all that kind of dragging people out their houses to almost, I think in the script, it was almost like a spaceship landing in Times Square that they put in the script. And I think that when you kind of see that thing kind of come right, it's just, it takes the scale up a notch. And I think all of that, from like the costumes that Sharon's done to everything, it had to feel completely different and completely alien. And like you said, with the accents, which I think was a really big kind of decision to make, but it had to feel like someone had come from a completely different area, different culture. And I think that it all kind of coalesced really lovely. And I think there was a lot of prep and a lot of rehearsals for it. And I think we were very lucky with the people. We had Arnis, who some of his fight sequences and that, he's an absolute machine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were like, there was kind of thing where they made all this amazing armor for us and costume, and then they were like, oh wait, they get attacked at night, so they wouldn't be wearing it, but then they wanted to keep the costume, so like, what do we do? They were like, oh, we'll just make Arnis topless, and then that'll kind of that'll be like the middle ground. So he looks like he's been caught up, but he's also the best fighter and he's absolutely shredded, so that'll be like the middle ground. But yeah, no, it was amazing. And I think it kind of like, I think each season it has to go up a notch in terms of the scale and stuff. So I think that was a nice way to kind of set the bar at the start of season 2.
Yeah.
All right. Also a nice way to tease what may come in season 3. Oh,
I can't, mate. You'll get me talking right now. I can't.
I don't one's getting in trouble. No one getting in trouble here.
There we go.
All right. So Perrin ends the season, right, in the role like in a protector role, right? In the final scene of the tower. So right, Perrin learns about the way of the leaf in season 1, and then as we talked earlier, he is exposed to all these different cultures where violence is more accepted. So how do you feel like all of that comes together to have that role, like you said, that role in prophecy or whatever, that protector role at the end of the season? Like, do you pull all of that together, or how does that work to influence that?
Yeah, I think it really works that all the characters are kind of split up in that way, because I think, as you can see, him being kind of isolated and having those experiences with the Shannarans and with Elias and then with Aviendha, I think, he's kind of, just by proximity or maybe subconsciously, he's starting to learn things about himself and kind of slowly accept kind of the role that he has. And I think he's probably, out of all of the group, the Emmonsfield group, he's probably the one that's kind of, all of them have their own struggles, for example, especially Matt and Rand and stuff. But there's something about Perrin that is just not like, I'm that guy. Like, he's just not. And I think slowly those things and being put in those situations, you kind of see the situation with Hopper. It kind of demands him to kind of step up in a certain way, and it kind of demands him to protect himself and to be that kind of warrior or protect people in whatever kind of way. And I think, I think he's kind of slowly learned from all those people. There's things from like Ingtar and Uno that I think are very subtle that he's kind of learned throughout. There's a lovely conversation with Ingtar that I think is at the start of the season, and there's just things that he's kind of carried through that I don't think he's really realized. That I think when you see that final image of him with the eyes, fully, permanently yellow now and all that kind of stuff, like he's kind of a new person essentially, in a way, and I think that's come through all those different journeys with meeting those different people.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, thanks so much, Marcus. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us and talk with us. As I said, we're really big fans, and can't wait for season 3 to come out. I know we got some time, but we're waiting and we're excited.
No, I'm so sorry you have to wait so long. It'll be worth it, man. Honestly, like I said, it keeps on going up and up. So that's really exciting.
All right, have a great one.
Thank you very much,
Marcus, giving us some good information in that one, huh?
I mean, this was clearly my favorite. It's tied for 8.
It's good to hear that, him speaking about like the reconciliation with what's happened with Layla. It sounds like he was inferring that like he's, taking a step in that, moving past her, which I guess coincides with, fitting in Fael in season 3. So that was good to hear.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Jen.
I liked that he said his eyes are permanently yellow now, because I didn't realize that.
Yeah, that was something interesting too. So he says at the end, right?
So did he turn yellow when he killed Bornhold, and then they stayed yellow after that?
I think they did.
That's another thing we have to look
they turned
for.
yellow when he watched Hopper die.
Yeah, during that.
Well, I want to be clear, like that. Yeah. I think is the trigger.
Yeah.
Okay.
But saying that they're permanent now, so it sounds like we're gonna get golden eyes for the rest of the series.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be wearing them contacts. Awesome.
Michelle will be happy.
He said capoeira when he was talking about the Aiel fighting style. I never picked up on that, and now I want to go and watch Only the Strong, because that's how I learned about capoeira, and that's all I know about capoeira. That's where I learned all of my knowledge on capoeira. Mark Dacascos, man.
That's it.
Look it up.
I Hey, all right. What is happening?
People are subscribing, or is that?
Yeah, good. It's good.
Is that happening in real time?
What?
You didn't see those things
pop-ups.
Pop-ups?
Oh no, I wasn't paying attention.
People subscribed?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Good.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
In advance of this
You don't
episode.
even know what you're getting.
Nobody even knows what we're talking about who's not watching this, so maybe I'll have to cut that out. Go ahead. You were
sorry, I was just distracting us because it like popped over your face. I guess I'll probably, it like struck something to me when he said it, but I didn't pick it up either. So I'll probably rewatch that fight scene just to kind of see, and I guess the end too, to see like if they're doing a lot of that type of fighting.
You just want to see Arnis topless, I think.
What?
What?
I said you just want to see Arnis topless.
Oh.
Oh yes, that's also true. He's absolutely shredded.
Absolutely shredded.
I really enjoyed this interview. I really enjoyed like his like kind of the same thing, like his thought processes behind and his insight into like you mentioned it like during the interview itself, Joe, like the different militaristic cultures that he's really embedded with. And we didn't even talk about the White Cloaks and like his relationships there as well. Like really showing him different aspects of this thing in himself that he's afraid of. Right. And it does sound like he's going to still be reckoning with that at least through season 3.
Yeah.
Probably a lot longer than that.
Yes, I mean, if it matches the books, through halfway through season 8 will be when he's reconciled. No.
Yeah. I like that he referenced the conversation with Ingtar from earlier. I think it's in that same episode. Or actually it might be the first episode. I don't remember now.
It's the first episode. Yeah.
That conversation that happens that, is, we as book readers are like, oh, this is laying the groundwork for Ingtar being a dark friend, which never pays off because I believe they cut that scene and potentially it's a deleted scene that we could get. But I love how he referenced that conversation though in when you were asking about the bringing everything together with all the different aspects of what happens to him and who he meets in the season. So
he also said he picked up some stuff from Uno, and I'm very curious as to what that is. He picks up the shield from Uno at the end, but I don't think that's what he's referring to. He talks about he's talking about this
tracking, because
he's talking about it in terms of being a leader and gaining things that you don't even he doesn't even realize he's gaining from them.
Maybe it's just the different attitudes and their different perspectives, because
Uno, it could be Uno's defiance in the face of I'm not going to bend the knee to this just to save myself kind of vibe.
Yeah, which was a wrong choice, but
he got better.
Well, I guess so. You can say that, I guess, if you want.
From a certain point of view.
All right, we've got another interview here. So shall we move on to the lovely Ayoola Smart? Speaking a little bit about Aviendha.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good.
Great. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited to be here.
I want to thank you, Ayoola, for taking the time to speak with us. Really excited to get to talk with you for a few minutes.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me.
All right, let's jump right into it. So I have to say, fans were incredibly excited to see your character appear on the show, and you pretty much won them over from your first appearance. So how does it feel stepping into a property with such a large and fervent fan base like us?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing because there is it feels like you're stepping into something where you're stepping into a kind of a family already, which can be intimidating. It's a big world and a very intense fan base, as you said. So I think before we started airing, certainly I was a little anxious of how's it going to be received, and my interpretation of Aviendha and everything kind of like that. But I've been really blown away by the support and how kind everyone is and how welcoming everyone has been of me and as Aviendha into the world. So yeah, it's been good.
You crushed it. So
yeah. Since season 2 began production before season 1 aired, were you able to see any footage of season 1 before you started filming?
I actually didn't. I don't think. I think I saw maybe a really small clip, but I started shooting at the end of October, and obviously it started airing at the beginning of November. So there was quite a nice crossover where the build up to that was happening and kind of the excitement, and everyone was doing press, and it felt like a really nice time to join. And then I was kind of furiously reading all the scripts for season 2 and also going into the books, and then season 1 came out, and so it was just a lot of information that I was
yeah.
Boy, I can't imagine. That's overwhelming. So being a maiden of the spear is very physically demanding. What kind of training did you do to prepare for the role?
Yeah, it is very, very physically demanding, which was one of the things that kind of excited me most. So when I started, or when I kind of got to the ground in Prague, we basically started straight into kind of general fitness and training, and then like fights, boxing, spear training, kind of weapons, some knife stuff, doing kind of like gymnastics, and literally like everything all at once. And yeah, it was a very, also because of where and how Aviendha is introduced into the story. We also shot that chronologically, so it was kind of like the first thing that I was doing was like, okay, you're going to do this epic fight in a couple of weeks, like go. It was like full on from the very beginning, but it was really good because I think it kind of helped me not feel overwhelmed about the character, because I had such like a physical and literal thing that to focus on of what I had to do to prepare.
Did you have any experience in that kind of fighting before in your work?
Like not specifically. I'd done kind of some things on stage which required combat and fighting, and obviously in my like drama school training and just kind of general enjoyment. But no, this was the first role that I really had that required me to learn new skills in that way. Yeah.
That's amazing. You were really good. I couldn't tell.
I had a wonderful stand-double as well.
Yeah.
I can't say.
So the Ayoola culture is like, it's very complex. How challenging is it to empathize with Aviendha, to get inside her head, to understand her motivations when it's also like she's part of this whole different culture?
Yeah, I think again, in terms of when it comes to like prepping a character that does have such a specific kind of background or culture or way of life, it's actually really helpful because one, it's like a really set structure that is different to mine or my own life, and so there's like this world that you can kind of get immersed in and understand the character through those points, which I find really interesting, and kind of she has these kind of, key points through the Ayoola way of life that kind of allowed you to get an insight into her mind and stuff, which, I really liked.
That's cool. I have to say, I was talking to some other people. There's a scene that you have with Marcus, who plays Perrin, where you drop in so many like new terms and new definitions and new things into the world. Like, I think it's very interesting how like it's character building and world building at the same time. Is that like a difficult thing to balance for you?
I think with it, with any kind of introduction of a character that's bringing in like a whole new world, being mindful that some of your lines are going to have like a certain amount of like exposition in them. And so kind of, I think the writers did a really good job of making that accessible, but also still like truthful to Aviendha and how she is and how she talks and stuff. Because that is kind of the first real moment that we have and get information about the Ayoola in a big way. But yeah, I love it.
Okay, we have a little bit of a fan servicey question here, but in the scene where you're in the White Cloaks, with the White Cloaks, Eamon Valda has his arm in a sling, and we wanted to know if Aviendha is the one who injured his arm.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
I think that settles an argument I think we've had. So I want to talk a little bit about the costuming, right? Ayoola warriors, they have a very distinct uniform like outfits. So how does the costuming and the uniformity of those Ayoola garb influence your performance as an individual and help you, when you have to kind of contrast being an individual but kind of being part of that uniformity?
Yeah. I think like something that Sharon, who does all the costume design, does really incredibly is making the costume, like Aviendha, because they're such, and the Ayoola in general, because they're such physical characters, having a costume that's functional is really important. So kind of the space that we had within our costume fittings and kind of talking that through, and the first kind of couple of fittings that we had of being like, oh yeah, this is great, but actually I need to be able to like move my arm like this, or I have to be able to flip and do those kind of things. So making those adjustments together, and also with Rob, who does all the incredible leather work, to make it really functional, but also still have this kind of beautiful uniformity and again, our first look at second-ish look at the kind of Isle world. Yeah, it's really exciting. I think costume is such like an intrinsic and important part of character building, and kind of when you put something on that makes you feel like a badass. It's really helpful and important, and I think our costumes really do that.
Yeah, they were great. Those costumes, they were amazing, just like we pictured them, or at least I pictured them. So.
I think also like working with kind of the weapons department as well, we had to make sure that when we're putting all the kind of leather work, that I have to actually be able to like get the spears out and be able to use all of it in a functional way. And that was like really fun and exciting to kind of have so many different departments work together to make this costume work. Yeah.
I'm going to ask this question anyway, although I think you may have answered it. The concept of Jieto, right? That honor and obligation, or honor and duty, right? It's so important to the Aiel culture. So is there anybody, I guess anyone you haven't already spoken about, that you feel behind the scenes earned much G, or that you have much toe towards, right? Someone that you feel like maybe didn't get a shout out that should have gotten one.
Oh gosh, that's a really...
I didn't mean to put you on the spot. If you're like, no, everyone, it was just me. No,
it's all me. No, I think that who good. Naomi Todd, who's the dialect coach. Mm-hmm. Definitely. I mean, I'm sure. Hopefully, she gets many mentions. But yeah, definitely, she gets a lot of G, because we work together in kind of creating the accent, and also obviously with the hand talk and everything. And also definitely Nicole, who's my makeup artist. Nicole does my hair, and they deserve all of the G in the world.
I think I wanted to just mention something, Tom. Sorry. There is like a thing now in the fandom, like they call it like Aiel Smoky Eye, or Maiden Smoky Eye, where some of the fans will try to do the Aiel makeup because it was great. It was amazing. We loved it.
Yeah, I think that kind of the idea that wherever they are, after they kind of put out a fire in the mornings before they go on to the next thing.
Yeah.
It's a literal smoky eye.
Yeah.
Literal smoky eye.
You mentioned the dialect coach, and I'm actually kind of glad you did, because I thought that you had such a distinct choice for Aviendha's accent. So can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
I can, although I can't say everything.
Okay, well, right, within limits. Right?
Yeah, it was a very intentional accent, because it speaks more. I think it will speak more to people who've read the books, I think, going forward with the stories as to why it's so specific. But it was something that we spent a lot of time thinking about, to kind of create this not entirely like kind of Icelandic Scandinavian, and not an entirely kind of Irish accent, and to come somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it was conversations that Naomi and I had, and also with EPs and producers, and yeah, there was a lot of thought that went into it, which will fulfill itself in due course. Okay,
that's a great tease. I think, right, Joe, we're at time.
Yeah, I think we're at time. Thank you so much, Ayoola. You were really great. We loved your performance, and we're really excited to see season 3 when it's all done and ready to come out.
It was lovely. It was lovely to talk to you all. Yeah, thank
you so much.
So we got another. I love how we got some of these fan service questions answered. Right? She said that Aviendha is the one who injured Eamon arm. So that's another thing settled there. So it's not.
I'm not 100% convinced on that answer.
We didn't ask Maddie if it was from her stab wound. We should have asked her.
She wouldn't have known.
She probably.
I need to interview Abdul Salis, or Rafe. They're the only people who really know the truth.
Yeah. I don't know. She was pretty quick to say yes, it was her. So I'm going to believe her. Aiel wouldn't lie.
Yes, they would.
No, not about that.
Well, now she has much.
She'd have much toe towards us.
To me.
Yeah, she would. So
yeah. Sorry, Joe.
No, go ahead.
I really enjoyed. I actually really enjoyed that interview. Like, obviously I enjoyed doing it because it's like so exciting. And
Was
she
it your favorite,
a great
Tom?
interview. Pardon?
Was it your favorite?
Yeah, it was. It was tied for first, which is pretty impressive. You know, it's a hard club to get into. But I liked it. Re-listening it again. I love the tease there for just about her accent, which I'm glad I asked that question because I don't know. I don't even remember if that was something we had planned on asking or just something I was curious about, and she had brought it up. But like, as to why she couldn't say more about that, and that book readers would understand. I mean, I think we have some guesses, but I think that that's a really cool little tease there.
I don't think we have guesses, Tom. I think we know because I remember distinctly during the interview when she said that, like messaging you both in Discord.
Yeah.
Being like,
I know.
Oh my God, I didn't make the connection. The Irish accent with the Irish accent of the Tinkers. And that's why she couldn't say more about it. And I never picked that up for some stupid reason. And I never saw really many people. I never really saw, and I mean, I don't listen to a lot of other Wheel of Time stuff or most other Wheel of Time stuff. Sorry, just because I don't have time and there's so much out there. But I don't know if anybody else had brought that up, like the accents were similar because, to the Tinker's accent because of obviously the connection. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, I imagine
Too late.
Yeah, I imagine they're gonna show some sort of like as it goes further back in time, those like that accent gets closer to like an in between, kind of a thing.
Yeah, just from like Scandinavian Irish to just straight up Irish.
Yeah. Or I don't know exactly how it's gonna pull or straight Scandinavian or like some other I don't know what. But yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and I also liked like I'm glad we asked the question about the like who deserves a shout out because she said I hope this person gets shouted out a lot, and this is the first time we've heard her name.
Yeah.
But I think listening to all the different accents on here, anybody who helps people with speech and dialect on this show should be getting a shout out.
Yeah. Yeah, the hand talk too, which is what I was thinking of when she first brought it up, and that's kind of what led to this whole thing about the accent. So that was great. I thought it was cool about the timeline of when she started filming. Right, she started in October, literally like about a month before the first season aired. So she actually got to watch, I guess, the first season. Sure. Well, I mean, I don't know if they were watching it like in between, not scenes, but the night, the day's done of shooting, let's go watch an episode of season 1 kind of thing. I imagine that happened. There were like some fun watch parties with everybody. I think we saw some footage, right? Or some like still photos of like a bunch of them watching the show. So
yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool, the timing for that. So she got to kind of get a feel for the show, by watching it while also being in it too at the same time. So cool stuff.
Definitely.
Shall we move on to our final interview?
We should.
Tom, I think this one's your favorite.
I think this one might be my favorite, Joe.
Yeah. So let's get on with it. This one is with the daughter of the night herself, Natasha O'Keeffe.
Hi, nice to meet you. I love your room is themed with all of the Wheel of Time. They're just in the background. I'm just like looking into the screen. They're amazing.
Yeah. We're fans. Some might call us fans.
Brilliant. So the show hasn't put you off the books then?
No. Not at all. So I guess I'll get right into it. I know we're running a little late and I want to make sure that I'm mindful of everybody's time. So Lanfear is a very divisive character among the fans of the books, and I think, we all think that you really own the role, and I think you converted some non-Lanfear fans to now be Lanfear fans.
Oh, thank you.
Was there anything outside the source material that you drew on to shape how you played the character?
I was a complete ignorant being to Wheel of Time before I was filming the very thing. Because even when I went up for the auditions for the part, it wasn't Lanfear, it wasn't the name Wheel of Time or anything. Nothing was disclosed to me.
Oh,
so
wow.
it literally was kind of, as we were going, I mean, I had a little bit of time before I stepped in, but I wouldn't say a whole world of time. So I had to kind of get in there quickly, really. Thankfully, there is so much information out there because of the diehard fans like yourself, and it's an education. It's so thank you for that. And without you guys, I don't know what I would have done. Because what is out there is also like lots of different opinions as well. So you have to then, I had to form my own kind of opinions as well on the because I'm reading from a script rather than the books, of course, and bringing her to life. But it was yeah, I don't know if you could tell, but I was having a lot of fun playing Lanfear.
It showed. It showed, yes.
So yeah, I feel like a bit silly not having known what Wheel of Time was before I was part of it, but there you go. Like, I can't know everything in the world.
Okay, so you kind of answered this one, but I'm going to try to change it a little. So this season really shows the plotting nature of the Forsaken. I'm sorry, the Chosen. So when you were filming the scenes, like so you said you hadn't read the book. So how much backstory were you given kind of when you were cast as Lanfear, as far as like her plot and her place in the story?
Well, I had some really good conversations with Rafe, and he was, he really was so informative as to not just on surface level Lanfear character, but kind of delving in a bit deeper as to the complexities of this woman. And it isn't just that she's this evil character. She's got human layers. Yeah, thick skin, but lots of layers going on underneath there. And a lot of vulnerability, and she comes across as a certain person and knows what she wants, but when you know that underneath her decision making, there's also cracks of vulnerability and rejection that has happened to her, and there's those little things that you can hold on to as an actor and go, okay, she's not just evil. There's just sorry, I'm going off on a tangent there, okay. But Rafe really was, it was really good to have some discussions with him about who he thought Lanfear was, and how they didn't want her to come across was just somebody that was just evil, just that, like right. But I think as well, it is the setup as season 2 has been the setup of Lanfear, but season 3, which we'll get to, not on this podcast, but
so close.
You thought I'd missed a trick there, didn't you? Is that it allows the audience to maybe, I don't know, I hope so, but I definitely got to understand her a little bit more about why. And so it's like there's just a bit more substance to her than meets the eye.
Great.
I will say, I think you absolutely nailed the complexities of the character that book fans as we are can come off one note at some points in the books, and I think that you really it just well done. That's all.
That's so nice. That really means a lot. It means a lot, because you just throw yourself at this thing, and you know that there's so much loyalty and love for these characters and in the books, and you want to do a good job. And because I was coming into it without ignorantly really, but up for learning, it's you still want to do be good, serve it well. Sounds like an obvious thing, but it feels like everyone is trying their best to serve it as well as they can.
Yeah,
that's great.
Thank you.
So pivoting slightly, some of the costumes that your character has in season 2 are stunning. They're going to inspire like cosplay for like years and years to come. So how does that like kind of help influence your performance, like wearing these fabulous different outfits?
It's everything. It's everything. It's like, so you've got characters that wear their outfits for things like the protection and whatever, that there'll be something that's useful, like I'm going to put my sword in this section of my costume, and I'm going to wear boots because I'm walking the deserts or the mountains or whatever. But with Lanfear, it's actually like it's all thought about. It's almost like she has this magic tailor. It's like making her some Beyonce themed Beyonce's tailor. It's Beyonce's tailor. Like she's having these discussions with a designer, and it's like, I want this to look like the most powerful costume, but I still want it to give me swagger. I want to be able to move in it and still feel like I want to feel feminine, strong, like I can fight just in a drop of a hat. If I need to go to war, I can battle in it. But also I can sit there and look good. all in one combination. But the shoulder pads got more and more elaborate, and they remain to. And the cloaks, everything. The weight of the costumes as well actually, really ground you, and not to forget the makeup and the hair and everything just to match. It's just I think I'll miss her when I'm not playing her. I miss her now. Where is she now? But it is I mean, I can't take any kind of credit for that really, but it's a very talented bunch, the costume and makeup, aren't they? Really, really an amazing department.
Okay, so Lanfear obviously went from very smug to incredibly unsettled after seeing Moghedien and the other Chosen are free in the world. So can you describe her headspace at the end of season 2?
Oh, I actually felt so hot and sweaty when I did that. That scene, Moghedien, played by Leia Costa, was so unnerving, and in the room she's so creepy. I was like, she's so fantastic. Moghedien, it's like the worst thing that can happen is this, to go from, like you said, the smug, everything's done now, that's sealed. Excuse the pun. And to walk into that room feeling like, okay, I might just lie down on the bed and take in my lovely new room. That is, it's a big shock. And we had to sort of on the spot make up what those special effects were, that kind of web, delightful web, spiky web thing that Moghedien does to Lanfear in that moment. And it was like that suffocation. It's like a squeezing and a suffocation. And that's actually how I felt Lanfear would feel at that moment of, she's going too quickly for me here. Okay. And Lanfear's someone who's a step ahead all of the time and has been throughout the whole series. And it's a real game changer there. Like that scene, it was so fun, but also it's a creepy one.
I got one.
What a creep.
One quick last question. I'm just going to skip to this one. What all fans want to know is, how did it feel blowing up that guy's head with a flick of the wrist?
What all fans want to know.
It was I want to find a good word to explain it. Should we say it was like hasty? It was like,
okay.
And I think that might have been one of my favourite Lanfear, or my favourite moments, but also one of the first Lanfear scenes that I did.
Wow.
It might have been because I was still in my sort of Celine. It's when Celine is sort of, and her costume is sort of formed. She hasn't yet gone to her tailor, you see. She hasn't seen her designer and tailor at that point. So she's still, in this almost like the dress of Celine-ish. No, she's not really. She is Lanfear. I'm just like but you know, she hasn't stepped. I guess what I'm trying to say, she hasn't really stepped into the massive shoulder pads at that point. She's still pretty elaborate. It's so funny how Lanfear gets under your skin. You actually do become like a bit of a prima donna. Like the shoulder pads aren't big enough. Yeah. So yeah, that was it was really I relished that. That was. Yeah, and so did Lanfear. Relish that moment.
Thank you so
great.
much for your time, Natasha. It really means a lot to us. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
I really hope that the next series as well. Hopefully, you'll be pleased.
I'm sure we will.
Sure we
When
will.
it comes, I mean, yeah. Thank you.
Oh man, she's a lot of fun, huh?
It was great. I was like on cloud 9 for the rest of the day after talking to her. I just felt like she just made me so happy.
Yeah, she was very fun. Like it was just like, I don't know. You could tell she was having a lot of fun with the role, and she was having a lot of fun talking about it, which was, great for us to hear, obviously, of course.
I love that Donal, in the interview we did with him, talked about the tailor that does Lanfear's clothes.
Yes.
And then she also referenced Lanfear's tailor.
Beyonce's tailor.
Like a real person. Yeah.
Yes. It's all connected. It's all Beyonce's tailor. We have to find out who that person is. Yeah, I love how candid she was about the scene at the end with Moghedien. She was just like flat out, oh, Leia was so creepy. She's
Right.
She was. It was great. But I loved how she was very candid about that. That was and they had to like not make up the effect there, but they had to kind of like pretend that there was that web effect and what it was going to look like and feel like. I never really think about some of that stuff. I know like they've talked to the special effects people and the VFX people, and I know they try to do as much practical as they can. But sometimes like they can't obviously do some of the practical stuff. Like I think who was talking about? Zoe was talking about it in the last episode about
it's secret. There's no channeling.
Happening. There's nothing happening on set. So it's got to be tough for them to do things like that, like just kind of pretend that something's there that's not there, and like not just pretend it's there, but like have to react to it in such a physical, animated way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And I think again, I keep harping on this because I really appreciate again the openness and the thoughtfulness of the responses, but I loved her insight into like, hey, there wasn't a world of time between when I was cast and when I started, and like not like being honest, like I didn't necessarily know what this world was when I got into it, but like understanding and through conversations and learning about it, like learning the different layers of Lanfear. And I think we talked about it before we had this interview on this show. We talked about it during the show. During her reviews of the show, like she took a character that I think is I think in the books is not that nuanced.
Yeah, she's a little shallow in the books,
and made her very, very nuanced in this performance, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, it sounds like we're getting a lot more of the backstory of Lanfear in season 3.
Yeah,
so we're gonna kind of find out more about her motivations. So that'll be fun.
Dare I say that show Lanfear is better than book Lanfear?
Ooh.
We might get some hate mail for me saying something like that, but I mean, it's an argument that can be made that I think show
Lanfear need to see another
might...
season of Lanfear before we.
I think it's an easy argument that can be made, but if only somebody was doing like 12 hours straight of talking about Lanfear soon,
maybe that
this conversation may be able to be explored.
Yeah, I guess so.
Who would do that? That's crazy.
She also mentioned too when in the beginning about like looking at like looking up online like different people's opinions and information about Lanfear, and we heard some of the other actors do that. Donal mentioned it with the 25 epic things Matt does. I thought that was funny. So it's kind of fun. I mean, I love it that they're going online and looking up information and maybe reading whatever Reddit threads or looking at YouTube videos to kind of get people's thoughts and opinions on the characters to kind of figure out what people like and dislike about the characters. I think that's so cool, and so it's got to be really fun, and it's got to be so different for them, right? Because if they're working on a original show or movie, right, everything's just really what the writer and the director, and I feel probably mostly the director is really telling them what to do. But on these types of shows and movies where it's coming from books or other short stories or whatever it's coming from, it's very different because there's a lot of existing material about the story and about the characters that they have to kind of, I almost feel like that would have been a great question to ask her. Like, what's the difference on how you'd approach characters when you're working on adapted work versus original work? So maybe next time. Yeah, maybe next time. Someone write that down.
Fingers crossed.
Any final thoughts on Natasha before we wrap it up?
No, just loved her.
Yeah.
Hope we get to talk to her again someday.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I want to remind everyone to follow us on social media. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. You can join us over in Discord to continue the conversation there. We also post our episodes on YouTube, so go check out our YouTube page. Be sure to like and subscribe. Rate and review us wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out our merchandise and Patreon pages to support us that way. Don't forget, if you didn't listen to the episode before this one, there is 4 more interviews in that episode, so go back and check that out. What are you guys going to be spending your Christmas break or your holiday break doing? Any plans?
Probably eating and vegging out, watching The Wheel of Time season 2, and trying to get other people to watch it as well, because
rewatch.
It's excellent, and I want to see if we can find any new stuff to talk about in the new year.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect time for a rewatch. Tom, rewatch?
Yeah, I think so. I honestly, between last episode and this one, there's been so much things that the actors have pointed out to us that I want to go and see for myself again. So yeah, I think that's it. I'll be on vacation, and I'll be re-binging.
Yeah, you can. You know what I did recently? I had to order a Christmas present for my wife, and we have the same Amazon account, so I can't order it off of there because then she'll see it. So I have like my old Amazon account, and I didn't want to pay for shipping. So you can sign up for Prime for a free 30-day trial of Prime. So you can, if you don't have Prime, you can sign up for a free trial of it and binge The Wheel of Time.
Yo,
that's planned.
Yeah,
I'm sure the Amazon people don't want me to say that, but
well, it's gonna hook people in. That's what they want.
Yeah.
I think Jen mentioned it at the beginning of the first episode, but I do want to thank, if anybody from Prime Video happens to be listening, I do want to thank them for the opportunity to do these interviews.
Kate's listening.
Yeah, right. No, it was something that we had really hoped we would get the opportunity to do for a long time, and it was for us at least, and I don't know how anybody else feels, but for us, I think it was even better experience than we thought it would be. So I just I want to verbally express my thanks to them.
And thanks everyone for listening. You'll hear us next time.